Greetings and welcome to this video on JavaScript interview questions and answers. My name is Michelle AI, and our focus today is on JavaScript variables, a topic frequently discussed in front-end interviews. As we explore this subject, you will not only deepen your understanding of JavaScript, but also refine your skills for your next JavaScript interview. During the video, we'll pose a question for you to answer, followed by the correct response. We will give you 15 seconds to answer each question. Optionally, you can pause the video if you need more time. Although we will be focusing on interview responses, it's important to be familiar with the technical aspect of each topic. You can find detailed technical responses under the variables page on our website at hellojavascript.info. So, let's get started with the first question. What is the definition of a variable in JavaScript? Here is the interview response. A variable in JavaScript is a named container for storing values, like numbers, strings, objects, or arrays that can be reassigned and used throughout your code. Let's move on to the next question. What keywords are used to declare a variable in JavaScript? The interview response is: in JavaScript, variables are declared using the keywords var, let, or const. Var is the original way to declare variables, while let and const were introduced in ES6. Here's the next question. Can you declare multiple variables on one line? Here is the correct answer to this question. Yes, you can declare multiple variables on one line by using either var, let, or const, and separating each variable with a comma, but this is not the recommended approach. This is the next question. Is there a way to copy stored data from one variable to another? The correct interview response is: yes, in JavaScript you can copy the value of one variable to another by assigning the value of the first variable to the second variable using the assignment operator. Let's look at the next question. Does JavaScript allow you to change the value of a variable? The correct answer is yes, by declaring the variable equals the new value. It should be noted that a variable declared with const does not have this capability because it is a constant value. Now for the next question. Can you declare a variable twice in JavaScript? This is the correct way to answer this question. Yes, you can declare a variable twice in JavaScript, but it can lead to unexpected behavior or errors. In non-strict mode, you can declare the same variable multiple times with var, but it can lead to bugs. In strict mode, or using let or const, redeclaring a variable throws an error. Let's move on to the next question. What are the limitations of variable names in JavaScript? The correct interview answer is: in JavaScript, variable names must start with a letter, underscore, or $sign, and can contain letters, digits, underscores, or $signs. In JavaScript, they cannot be reserved words or contain spaces. It will result in a syntax error. Here's the next question. What is lower camel case in JavaScript? Here is the response to this interview question. Lower camel case, also known as CamelCase or medial capitals, is a naming convention in which words are joined together, and the first letter of each word, after the first word, is capitalized. This is the next question. Can you explain the CamelCase naming method in JavaScript? Here is the interview response. CamelCase is a naming convention where words have no spaces and first letters are capitalized. In JavaScript, we use CamelCase for variables, functions, and object properties. Pascal case is used for classes and constructors. Let's look at the next question. In JavaScript, what stylization rules are used in naming multi-word variables? The interview response is: in JavaScript, the most commonly used stylization rule for naming multi-word variables is CamelCase, in which each subsequent word starts with an uppercase letter, and no spaces or underscores are used between the words. Now for the next question. What is the stylization rule used for naming multi-word constructors in JavaScript? Here is the correct answer to this question. In JavaScript, multi-word constructor names are typically written in Pascal case, which means that each word starts with a capital letter, and there are no spaces between the words. This convention is used to make the constructor names more readable and easier to distinguish from other types of variables in the code. Let's move on to the next question. Does variable case matter in JavaScript? The correct interview response is: yes, the variable case does matter in JavaScript, as it is a case-sensitive language. This means that two variables with different casing are considered to be different variables. Here's the next question. In JavaScript, are non-Latin letters allowed in naming variables? The correct answer is: yes, in modern versions of JavaScript, it is possible to use non-Latin letters, such as Arabic or Cyrillic characters, in variable names. However, it is generally not recommended for readability and compatibility reasons. This is the next question. Is it possible to declare a variable without let, const, or the old var? This is the correct way to answer this question. Outside of strict mode, it is possible but not encouraged. It is possible to find it in earlier programs. Keywords let and const are used to declare variables in JavaScript and specify the scope and mutability of the variable. Let's look at the next question. What is the difference between var and let in JavaScript? The correct interview answer is: one main difference is that var is function scoped, while let is block scoped. This means that variables declared with var are accessible within the entire function in which they are declared, while variables declared with let are only accessible within the block in which they are used. Now for the next question. Can you reassign a value in a variable declared with const? Here is the response to this interview question. No, it results in a syntax error because constants do not allow reassignment. Let's move on to the next question. When should you use a constant as an alias in JavaScript? Here is the interview response. A constant can be used as an alias when you want to use a shorter, more readable name for a value that is used multiple times in your code, but you don't want to modify the value. Constant values such as colors and numeric identifiers are a perfect use case. Here's the next question. What are the advantages of aliasing a constant in JavaScript? The interview response is: aliases are easy to remember, avoids repetition, enhances code organization, reduces cognitive load, and simplifies complex expressions. This is the next question. In JavaScript, when should a constant be named in all caps? Here is the correct answer to this question. In JavaScript, a constant should be named in all caps when it represents a value that is fixed and never changes throughout a program. Let's look at the next question. What are some excellent rules for variable naming conventions? The correct interview response is: a variable name should have a clean and obvious meaning describing the data it stores, like current user or new user. Unlike functions, where a variable name should always begin with a verb and describe an action. Now for the next question. In JavaScript, what differentiates variable names from function names? The The correct answer is: a variable name is always CamelCase and begins with a noun, while functions generally begin with a verb. Let's move on to the next question. What is the difference between a global and local variable? This is the correct way to answer this question. A global variable is declared outside of a function and can be accessed anywhere in our code, while a local variable is declared inside a function or code block and can only be accessed within that block of code. Here's the next question. What is the scope of a variable in JavaScript? The correct interview answer is: the scope of a variable, in JavaScript, is the region of the code where the variable is accessible. In general, variables declared inside a function are only accessible within that function, while variables declared outside of a function are accessible throughout the entire scope of the code. This is the next question. What is variable shadowing in JavaScript? Here is the response to this interview question. Variable shadowing, in JavaScript, occurs when a local variable with the same name as a variable at a higher level scope is declared. Let's look at the next question. What is the difference between null and undefined in JavaScript? This is the correct way to answer this question. Null is a value that represents the intentional absence of any object value, while undefined is a value that represents a variable without an assigned value. Now, for the final question. What is the difference between NaN and Infinity in JavaScript? Here is the response to this interview question. NaN is a value that is not a number, which can occur in math operations that produce undefined or non-numeric results. Infinity is a value that represents positive or negative infinity, which can occur in math operations that produce very large or very small numbers. We've now come to the end of this video on JavaScript variables. We hope that you found it to be informative and valuable. Be sure to join us for the next video, where we'll take a closer look at data types. Thank you for watching.